everyone. How are you? How are you doing? I am so happy because it's sunny outside and I really like sun, being Italian. We are back with Women Off the Clock, a podcast about the truth about starting and running a business as a female founder. Today, I'm really excited. We're here with Laura, our new guest. Laura is I've got notes, so you see me looking down because I've got notes. Is a hormone and mindset coach, a business mentor, and the founder of the Get Shit Done Club. I never swear, but I will just for today. But as you know, I let all our guests introduce themselves. So Laura, take it away.
Much, and thank you for having me, and hi everyone who's listening. So as Fran said, hormone and mindset coach, business mentor and founder of Get Shit Done Club, and basically I support predominantly women to work on whatever matters most to them, and doing that from a place of compassion. So whether that's building a business that feels purposeful and impactful, or whether it's more personal well-being goals, for me, I'm here to help you get out of your own way.
I really like that. I know that I certainly get in my own way so much, not just in business, probably, or also in life.
I think we all do. And, you know, I come from this from a place of experience and empathy, not because I've just got it all sussed out. And yeah, I'm a work in progress too.
Yes, I think we all are. So it's a very interesting choice of business, I would say, and it's unusual if you want. So how did you get into it? And I also want to know if people were thinking about doing the same. Are there any qualifications needed? How do you get to be? Especially, I am really interested in the hormone side of things because it's really uncharted territory if you come from a let's say traditional upbringing, isn't it? It's not something that people bring up. So how did you get into it, and how did the business come about?
So I was working as a weight loss coach for I think 6 or 7 years, and I loved my job, and I got into that because I lost weight myself with the company, and so I decided to then work with them. Loved it. It was my full-time job, and what I loved was just seeing people walk a bit taller each week and really helping people to believe in themselves, and I loved that. However, I very quickly fell out of love of the conversation and topic of weight loss. I think it's one thing to kind of live it and experience the challenges of weight, but to also be working in that field, it felt like it was all I thought about. It was constant. And in 2018, I was actually diagnosed with a hormone condition called premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD. And for anyone who's listening that hasn't heard of that, PMDD is a cyclical hormone-based mood disorder. So essentially what that means is I will experience extreme psychological and emotional symptoms for around 2 weeks of every menstrual cycle of every month. So it's very intense. It took 14 years to get diagnosed with that. So it's had a profound impact on my life. And when I was diagnosed, I felt like I had to unlearn a lot of stuff that I thought I knew. And the thing about PMDD is, like you've just said, it's kind of uncharted territory. It's this perfect storm of mental health stigma and period shame. And so it's not spoken about, hence why it took me so long to get diagnosed. And so following my diagnosis, I was reading every book, I was listening to every podcast, just trying to educate myself better. And that's what I realized. People just weren't talking about these things, which is why there's no awareness of it. So when we went into lockdown, I set up a podcast and I called it My Hormones, My Health. And The whole purpose of the podcast was just to enable people to have conversations about their own hormone and health issues, and that's all it was. And at this time, I was learning that self-compassion has to come first. It's the most important thing, particularly if you're living with something like PMDD. And the topic of self-compassion and weight loss, they don't always go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so I was really becoming quite conflicted. And then I was made redundant. And it was like, oh my gosh, the rug was just pulled from underneath me. Because as much as I was conflicted about my job, I did love the work that I did. I love coaching, I love facilitation. So when that happened, I was heartbroken. I was absolutely devastated. And at the same time, I knew that this was the opportunity that I needed and the push that I needed to combine my qualifications, my skills, and my training with my newfound passion of women's health and taboo subjects. And so the obvious thing to do really was to go self-employed, start working as a hormone and mindset coach, supporting other people living with what I call hormone havoc. So it's not just PMDD, it's anyone really who's feeling like their hormones are holding them back, whether that be something like menopause, PMS even, infertility, anything that you just feel like makes you go one step forward, two steps back. And I loved it. Absolutely. Well, I still do. I love my job. Again, it's that seeing people just have those light bulb moments that you just give them the space to do that and help them to think. So I've been self-employed for 4 years, and at the same time as setting up as a coach, I started doing some freelance work for a PMDD charity, and that was just doing social media for the charity. Loved it, and it was just a second income stream while I was setting up my business. But then I kind of realised that what it was also doing was stopping me from building the coaching business, because yes, it was a second income stream, but it was also, it was essentially another part-time job. So I knew that I needed to step away. And so before I left, I decided to put on a one-off fundraising event to raise some money for the organisation, raise some awareness of PMDD, and yeah, just have some fun with it. And I thought I'd get all of my self-employed friends in a room, we'll raise money, raise awareness, we'll do some co-working, be dead informal, and I'll just call it Get Shit Done Club, and that'll be that. And that was 2 years ago. It went really well, and everyone was saying, when's the next one? When's the next one? And we've had one every month since. We're about to open our fourth venue. So it's really grown. And I think, if there's any kind of moral to the story, it's that nothing you do is wasted and everything is purposeful. I feel like for me, everything that I've done is just kind of fed into the next thing and the next thing. And over the last year or so, I've started moving into more of a business mentor role, which I absolutely love as well. So yeah, in a very big nutshell, that is how I got into my business.
Amazing. So on this point, I would usually ask a question about, did you transition into this thing or did you just jump? But obviously you already told us that you just jumped. I find that sometimes there is a pattern, and it's either people who got made redundant or they just went, I can't cope with this job anymore, I'm gonna jump and start something else. Or option number 3 is people keep their job while they develop the business. And I find there's difficulties in each one of them. In your case, for example, when you said about you had this part-time job and then you realize it is a part-time job and is bringing me the income, but I'm using the time I could use to grow something else. So balance, I find it's always a difficult topic when we run our own business. In your case, what would you say was the most difficult thing or the most challenging thing about starting this business and growing it?
I think honestly, it was that trust in myself, because when I was made redundant, and I think a lot of people feel this way, when you're made redundant, you don't actually make a jump like you've just described. You're kind of pushed, actually. So you don't feel like there's as much choice, and therefore you don't feel like you have to trust yourself as much, because really you're just trying to get some income in and start a business because you've been made redundant. You need to do something. And I think when I left the social media position, it was different because it was me making the choice to do that. It was me saying, I'm going to believe in myself now. And that was the biggest challenge in comparison, because other people were believing in me. I did have evidence that the business worked because I was one-to-one coaching by that point. But yet it was still that confidence and that trust in myself of I will be able to replace that income stream. And I think for so many people, that is the biggest fear, isn't it? It's the money. You know, what am I going to do for money? What if this fails? But I also remember somebody saying to me, it was really great advice. And it was, if you want to build your business, then all you have to do is build your business. And I know that sounds really basic, but I just remember thinking, it's so true, because that's what I want to do. So I just need to align my actions to that. I need to make it happen because I can. So I just have to do it and not let myself hold myself back and stay in this kind of comfort zone, if you like, of, you know, having a part-time coaching business and part-time social media role. And it's comfortable, but it's not at that kind of 100% fulfillment. And that for me was the trade-off. It was, right, okay, you have to align your actions. If you want to build your coaching business, you can't be spending 15 hours a week in another business. You can't. You're gonna have to make a change. And I think it is different because, you know, it was only a 15-hour contract with the social media role. And I think, like you've just said, some people will be in this full-time corporate role with brilliant company benefits, so it feels even bigger and more terrifying. And so you don't have to just quit like that. Like you just said, you can start to build something first. You can start to, you know, be curious with it and play with it. But I know that I think that's the biggest challenge for so many people is, where's the money going to come from? Where is the income stream coming from?
Yeah, and that's scary because one thing is making mistakes when you are a teenager or when you are a really young adult, and then you can eat rice for a month and everything is going to be fine anyway. One thing is when you're expected to be adulting all the time and pay your bills on time and etc. etc. And obviously it is a big thing. It is a big responsibility and a big weight on our shoulder. And I think as women, whether we've got children or we don't, our body is constantly changing and what we're capable of is constantly changing. And the later this happens in our life, the less multitasking and, you know, pushing through the tiredness we can actually do. I certainly know that the rhythm at which I worked in my 20s is not even remotely thinkable now. I can't even think I could actually do those kind of things. But what in terms of running these businesses day to day, obviously you've got the coaching and you've got the club. So the club is a monthly thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you balance the two things? Because even though the club is a monthly thing in the meeting with other people, there must be preparation and advertising. And so how do you balance the two?
I think that's such a great question. And again, it's not something that I would say, oh, I've got it all sussed. But the things that have really helped me most is to try and see them as two separate entities. So I mean, technically it is, it's two businesses that I have, really.
Yeah.
And what I kind of say to a lot of people who I work with is, if you were to think about every income stream you have, whether that's 2, 3, 10, doesn't matter. But if you were to think about each and every one and how much money they all bring in individually, and how much time you're putting into each one, just look at it a bit more and think, well, hang on a minute, I'm putting so much time into this income stream, which actually isn't bringing in much. How can I make it easier? And I think that really helped me to compartmentalize them a little bit more, because I felt like everything was just never ending. And actually, I wasn't acknowledging or recognizing, well, actually, I've scheduled all our social media for our events for the entire next month, and that's amazing. So giving yourself that kind of credit when it's due. But also some kind of practical things that have really helped me. The first thing was outsourcing. So I have a VA, and I know the topic of a VA is something that is terrifying for some people, because it's that idea of, oh, I can't hand over my own work to somebody else to do for me. But hiring a VA has been really helpful for me in my business, because I hand over the stuff that I feel like I can hand over. I keep everything that feels like more personally impactful. And it just means that there's consistency in terms of, the events going up on my website, all that kind of behind the scenes stuff that I don't particularly enjoy. And if you are thinking, oh, maybe I need a VA, but I can't afford it and all of that, start really small. So I started with a 3-hour contract a month and just built it up as our relationship grew, really. So that's the one thing that's really helped me. And the other thing is, for the love of the world, just automate everything that you can, because I spent so much time, I had a membership where there was no automation, which meant that if I got somebody new signing up, I would receive an email on my phone saying somebody's joined your membership, but there was nothing for them. So they would sign up, and then I had to quickly send them an email saying, hey, thanks for joining the membership. It was terrible. I was doing it 10 o'clock at night, or just whenever my phone pinged, because you want to obviously give them that customer service. And after a while, I thought, this is no good, because it's not ideal for me, because it's interrupting my personal life. But it's also not a great experience for that new customer who's just joined my membership and hasn't even received a welcome email until 2 hours later, because I've been busy doing something else. As soon as I started automating, I just feel like it took the pressure off me and provided them with a better experience. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's making life easier for everybody. So I think they're the two things that have helped me most, to be honest. But also time blocking, for anyone who's not familiar with time blocking, that just means every task that you need to do. So yeah, scheduling a social media post on LinkedIn or whatever it might be, you put that time into your calendar and you block off that time, rather than saying, oh, well, I'll do my social media when I get a spare hour. Actually, you're intentional with your time, and it just means that things don't get left, and then you end up with this mile-long to-do list that just feels really overwhelming. So time blocking is your best friend in business.
So you mentioned automation. I know that people who've come as guests on this podcast, but also other entrepreneurs I speak to at networking events, etc., etc. Like for the VA, automation is a scary thing for many, because maybe we don't actually know where to start from. Maybe we don't really know. How did you start? Were you already familiar on how to use the tools, or how did you start?
That's such a good question, because I think people don't even always realize what automation is, do they? And automation really just means kind of having processes in the background that automatically process while you're kind of out. So for example, and you're all probably using automation in some ways without realizing it. So again, if you were to sign up to an event or a membership, you would probably get a confirmation email. When you buy something, whether that's something from Amazon or something from Etsy, you will get a confirmation email. So they're examples of automation. So you're probably experiencing automation anyway. And for some people, it is all singing, all dancing. But for people like me, I am a self-confessed control freak. So the idea of automation scared me, because I like to know exactly what's going out and when. So I don't even like scheduling social media, really, because it just feels like oh, I can't remember what posts are going out when. So start really small, but remember that it is just like very basic things. So for anyone who does events, the way that I was running my events was I would put them on my website, advertising them, and then people would pay using Stripe. Now, Stripe is just a it's software that collects payments for you, and then you receive the money. So it's very safe for everybody, kind of like PayPal-ish or Link. And that was great, but the back end stuff of that wasn't really working for me. It wasn't very personal to the customers who were signing up to come to my events. And I was still having to then go in and email people and say, thanks for signing up. Here's the address for our meetup and all that kind of stuff. I switched to Eventbrite. Now, Eventbrite is slightly more expensive in terms of the fees that you have to pay. But what it means is the people that sign up to my events get a really nice email that welcomes them. It's branded. They know exactly where they're going, what to expect on the day. And I only have to write that email once. And then once it's on Eventbrite, that's it. It's sorted. So yes, it's costing me slightly more in terms of fees, but actually it's saving me so much time that I can be putting into something else. So start really, really small, but also don't overthink it. You could also already be using automation without realizing it. If you, like I say, if you schedule social media posts, that is a kind of primitive form of automation. So you're probably already doing it without realizing. So yeah, start really, really small is what I would say.
Yeah, I like that. One little step at a time.
Yeah, definitely. You don't need this this really flashy system that just does everything for you if that doesn't feel right for you. And yes, it will have benefits, but if it doesn't feel right for you and it doesn't make you feel comfortable, then take your time with it.
Yeah, I agree. I always like to ask this question, which is, we all have days when nothing works in our business. We all have days where, everything is not going right. Coachy haven't done their work. For me, that's the day where I have call after call after call where my coaches haven't done the work. And then they come to session and they're just like, I don't know what to tell you because I'm in the same place I was when I last talked to you. And then I run a second business, which is a community co-working cafe, at Clockwork Studios. And I don't know, it's a bad day in Clockworks. Things don't work and clients don't pay on time. And so those days are the days that I always call the days where I'm going to be a postman, because the postman is my backup job. I'm going to go be a postman. What does bad day look like for you? And what's your backup job?
Oh gosh, that's so funny. A bad day for me is often not circumstantial, because I think it all depends on, I can have a day where everything goes wrong and I navigate it fine. And I'm like this swan who's really graceful, and it's like, things have gone wrong, not a problem. I can deal with it. And then on another day, I could have something really teeny tiny and it just feels like the end of the world. So I think for me, actually, it's more to do with my own mindset than anything else. In terms of my backup job, there are probably two. And something that a client said to me recently was, I don't know whether to just jack it all in and go and get a job in Tesco. So that's the example that I always use now. It's right, let's go and get a job in Tesco. Then if this isn't working for you, let's go and do it. Now, there is nothing wrong with working in Tesco. However, for somebody who is wanting to choose their own hours, be their own boss, pick and choose when they have more social time and more quiet time, a job in Tesco isn't probably what you want. So that's one. But it's really funny that you said about a postman, because when I was little, I really wanted to be either a bus driver or an ice cream man. Don't know why.
There you go.
And I still really would like to just, have my own little ice cream van and just drive around giving out ice creams to people. So that's my backup job, I think.
There you go. Ice cream man. Ice cream woman, actually.
I don't know why, but it was always ice cream man I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So when you are on those days, what gets you out?
Something that really helps me is reflection. And I'm a huge fan of journaling, and I would encourage everybody listening to journal. And it can feel a bit kind of soft and airy fairy. It's not necessarily about kind of, writing like, Dear Diary, today I did this and today I did that. It's actually more about just documenting. And just like you would put a photo on social media or on Instagram when you've had a great event, or just when you would text your business coach and say, oh, I've had a really great day today. We almost need to do that with ourselves sometimes. And so just making a list even of all the things that have gone really well, that's helpful in the moment, but it's also helpful to look back on. And I have in my planner, I have one page where I just write all of my kind of wins for the months, and they could be massive things like spoke at this event, and they could be really tiny things like started planning something. So it doesn't even feel that big yet, but anything that just feels like a nod of gratitude and appreciation, it goes on my list. And I write it in the moment. And then at the end of the month, when I'm like, God, what have I achieved this month? What have I done? It's so amazing to look back at all the things that we've forgotten about. And that's only over a month. So can you imagine over a year what that can do, or even 6 months, the impact that that can have on your mindset of, I'm doing this. The things that I feel like I can't always do, I've got evidence. I'm doing them all, and I'm doing them every single day. And that is amazing. And I think that's the thing we forget sometimes. We forget to give ourselves that pat on the back. So that really helps me.
Good. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. So if someone is listening or watching and they're thinking about maybe starting a business that has got nothing to do with yours, but still starting a business, or starting a business that has something to do with yours, what are yours top 3 tips, and what is your warning? What comes with the red light?
Oh, I love that. So the 3 top tips are: remember that you don't have to have it all figured out. And I remember when I first set up as self-employed, feeling like, oh, I haven't got a website and I haven't got this and I don't know about that. Everything that you don't know is figure-outable or Googleable. So you don't need to know everything. And I work with a lot of people who I describe as accidentally self-employed. So they want to do a job, but there are no employers offering that kind of job. So they build it themselves. And so what that means is they don't know how to be an accountant and a social media person. They don't know how to network. They don't know how to be HR. And you're doing everything. So don't expect yourself to know how to do it all. You can learn it as you go. You will make mistakes, and that's absolutely brilliant because you'll just learn. So that's my first one. The second thing I would say is you do not need to pick a lane. And a lot of people will say you need to niche down. You need to have one income stream and do it really well. And I would kind of say that the safer bet these days is to have multiple income streams. And so, for me, that's one-to-one coaching, it's memberships, it's events, it's speaking gigs, and probably sub sections within those as well. But having multiple income streams, that's what gives me a sense of security. So don't feel like you can only do one thing. You can do multiple things as long as it all feels aligned to you. And I definitely have been through this kind of identity crisis where I was kind of like, am I doing hormones or am I doing business? Who are my ideal clients? Actually, I can do both. And the evidence is there that I can do it both and do them both well, because I've been doing it and doing it well. So I can do both. And yeah, you can do. I have a client who is a dog groomer and a wedding celebrant. They are not aligned at all, but they're aligned to her. And that's brilliant. So yeah, make it work for you and don't feel like you need to pick a lane. And the third thing is surround yourself with people who inspire you, but who make you feel like I can do that too. And what I mean by that is it's very easy to walk into a room, walk into a networking event and think, wow, everyone here is amazing. And oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm not as good as them. And actually what you should be thinking is they're amazing and I want to have that for myself. I can have that for myself. So that's just a mindset shift of, being surrounded by people who are just brilliant, but they're not lucky. They've just worked hard just like you. So that's the third thing. And that also takes me to the warning lights as well of be careful of comparisonitis, because it's so easy, particularly on social media, to see people doing an amazing thing and it just makes you feel like rubbish. It makes you think, oh gosh, I can't do this because someone else is already doing it and they're already doing it well. I think particularly for women, if you see somebody doing something that's maybe not too dissimilar to you, the temptation is to retreat and go, well, it's already being done, so I can't do it. And I would encourage everybody listening to think, actually, we need more people in these spaces. We need more women in these spaces. We need more networking events where there are just as many women as men. We need this. And actually, we need to show up and still do all the things. So yeah, comparisonitis, watch out for it. It will rear its head for every now and again. But just keep in mind that if you're feeling a bit maybe jealous of somebody or triggered by somebody, that's a mindset thing. And it's something you can work on.
Thank you so much. If anyone wants to get in touch with you and has got questions on or wants to work with you, where do they find you?
Thank you. So they can go to getitdoneclub.co.uk, or they can just drop me an email, and that's just hello@getitdoneclub.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for being one of our guests. I plan to catch up with all of our initial guests in about a year or so and see how is it going. So we'll definitely speak to you again very soon. So I'll speak to you soon, and I'll speak to you all in the next episode. I'll see you soon.
Bye.